Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Casey of OCDGaming. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are covering a guide for the Augmentation Evoker, Chronowarden, and Scalecommander. I just gotta say, before we get started, guys, I got a fresh cut. I'm feeling good. You know a dragon that looks this good? Alright, now that's enough about me. Now let's talk about me in the game. So let's get into it, guys. Stats and gear first, like always. So let's go ahead and get down here, huh? All right, so our stats, they're pretty much going to be the same as it was throughout Dragonflight. We want to be stacking haste first, or I guess first haste, if you want to look at it like that. Verse is important, and then haste, and then the third stat we've been going for is I've been dumping into crit, because crit does kind of help us out a little bit, especially with Chronowarden and just bigger numbers in general too. Mastery is not super game changing anymore, let alone in general, honestly, because you can't stack it as much. You need to have so much mastery in order to even get close to 10%, and it's just not really worth it, in my opinion. Maybe that changes later on, we'll have to see. But for right now, this is what I got for my natural stats. Nothing too crazy, because we can't really stack a whole lot more until we really get into the season, but we do want the verse, we do want haste. Obviously, let's guys, come on, we need the main stat too, so don't be that goober. We need main stat, verse, haste, and then I'm stacking crit because of how it plays into the Chronowarden. So that's what we got for going on for our stats. Our gear, nothing crazy, it's just the PvP gear, of course. No like tips, no like tricks of like, oh my god, he has just one PvE piece. No. This is what we got going on for this. So we're gonna hop right into the talents now. This is the talent build that I play with on Chronowarden, and it is super fun, and I'm going to explain to you why I play these talents, because I've had some naysayers, and you know who you are, and that's fine though. I'll just wait for your guide. Like I rant and rave about all the time, you can change the talents to whatever you need to have. You don't need to go into Unravel if they don't have anything Unravel worthy. You don't need to go into Oppressing Roar if you don't have any good setups for an Oppressing Roar. These are just what I'm playing at the moment. So if you don't want the Unravel or the Blast Furnace, take those out, dump one into Oppressing Roar so you can still get down to the Terror of the Skies, put one to Attune Dream or one into the 2% Leech if you truly do want that. I don't recommend it. Or if you wanted to, if you don't want the Attune Dream, you can go in the Forger of Mountains. You can do whatever the hell you want. It's your character. You can play what feels good to you. It's crazy how that works. And then on the augmentation side, since I'm playing Chronowarden, I do build into Prescience. Reason I play into it is because there's two modifiers on Chronowarden that allows us to benefit from Prescience, and not only that, but also Ebonite as well. It's pretty straightforward with these talent builds right here. You know, if you have a double melee, go into reactive hide. Double melee will suffer with the reactive hide if you got that going on. Again, I play one into Aspect's Fury. I don't think the two is really all that good. Maybe if it was for the movement speed, but I don't think it's that good overall. 25% is perfectly fine if you're really super like, oh my god, I gotta go, you know, I gotta go into Tailwind for the next 4 seconds. It's the same over here, 4.2 seconds for 40%. And I've really been loving interwoven threads. Now you're like, well, why don't you just go with time skip and you get a good 30-second chunk off your cast and all your cooldowns? Yes, that's fine and dandy. In PvP world, it's not all that game-changing super, honestly. Interwoven threads applies to all your spells across the board, so that's really good for our Prescience, because now it's on 11-second charge. It lasts for almost 19 seconds. That's super good. It affects our hover, which again goes into our Chronowarden. I will cover that with the hover change right there as well. And just overall, just lesser cooldowns is just better. It's every single one, including Verdant, Shield, Upheaval, Fire Breath, everything. I just think it's a lot better, especially if you're playing with Prescience and on Chronowarden. And if you don't want like something like Plot of the Future, and if you really do want the second aspect, you can put it into there. You can put it into Seismic Slam. If you do play the Seismic Slam, I recommend you obviously go and take a talent point and put it into the Forger of Mountains. And if you go with Seismic Slam, I'd say I recommend playing that if you don't have a consistent stun, because then that will give you something like, you know, other than just your breath, now you have a landslide stun. And then if you wanted to, you could stun one target with your breath, you can stun another target with your landslide stun, And then if it's on the healer, you could go for a sleep on that or something, you know, just little things like that. And I'm sure I'll be playing some of the seismic slam in solo shuffle as well if I'm queued up and I don't have a whole lot of stuns at my disposal. But the interwoven threads also applies to our kick. So we have an 18-second kick, which is huge. I think it's like 15 seconds for Shaman. I think it's a 15-second cooldown, if I'm not mistaken. But an 18-second kick is huge if you're doing, even if it's just like one spellcaster, but double spellcaster, it's going to be fantastic to have that. And you can just make one person's life hell. Honestly, you can, if you're fighting the warlock, you're kicking him on cooldown, dude. Make his life hell. He deserves it. He's playing warlock. So that covers all the talents right here, but you really want to get to the meat and potatoes and why everything is centered around this build on Chronowarden. Here is why. Chrono Flame, Living Flames enhanced with bronze magic, repeating 25% of the damage or healing you dealt up to the target in the last 5 seconds, as Arcane up to 141k, obviously increased in PvP. So our Living Flame now repeats its damage and healing to whatever target that we hit, including ourselves. It is super nice, and it gets even better once we go down to the last part of the tree. So let's just keep moving on here. Warp. This is going to change our hover. Hover now causes you to briefly warp out of existence and appear at your destination. Hover's cooldown is also reduced by 5 seconds. Hover continues to allow evoker spells to cast while moving. So we not only do we get a cooldown reduction on the hover, we get basically kind of like a blink, so you can get out of like static totems and stuff like that. Of course, if you're rooted, we're still suffering in that aspect, but hey, you can't have everything, I guess. But the reason I like this a lot more, not only do we get the cooldown reduction, so making it baseline just 5 seconds less, you mix that in with interwoven threads and our Blessing of the Bronze, we have a 23-second recharge on our hovers, guys. That's huge. Baseline to have that, you know, if you get your bronze spell stolen, just reapply it, you know? It's as simple as that. 23-second recharge is going to be huge, especially with the next talent, Temporality. Warp reduces damage taken by 20% starting high and reducing over 3 seconds. So if we have more warps or hovers, whatever you want to call it, then we have more damage reduction throughout the entirety of the match, which is going to be huge. There's a reason to my madness on these talent choices, guys. You know, I'm not just some freaking goober just picking out talents because I think they look pretty. Granted, the Chronowarden spells look great, so that's kind of helpful, I guess. Because then Motes of Acceleration is the other one. Warp leaves behind a trail of motes. Acceleration. Motes of Acceleration. Allies who come in contact with a mote gain 20% increased movement speed or 30 seconds. You're thinking, wow, that could be really good. No. Granted, I haven't really played it, but that definitely doesn't feel like it's going to be super good into PvP, because you're going to have your ally come in contact with the mote. That's why I don't play with Motes of Possibility anymore, or the Overload talent. It's just not worth it, because you're going to have your teammates run over and then grab a mote. It's just, if it was just to give your teammate that, then cool. Or if it was like something that you just had to walk in a big line like it would with like the Windwalker's Flying Serpent Kick when they PvP talent into that, then awesome. But if it's just like a little ball of sand you gotta kind of grab, then it's just not worth it in my opinion. Moving down to the next one, Double Time and Time Convergence. So Double Time is the one I was talking about where it helps your Prescience and your Ebon Might. It gains a chance to equal to your critical strike chance to grant 50% additional stats, which is actually huge. I was playing around with this in some skirmishes and some world PvP, and sometimes if you got more crit, then you have that chance to increase your prescience instead of 6%, which is already pretty high, to it gives you 10% extra crit. And then Ebon Might, it goes from like around like a little over 3,000 up to a little bit above 5,000 main stat. It's huge increase in stats and damage right there. So I'm going to be picking Double Time a lot of the time, because the Time Convergence non-defensive abilities with a 45-second or longer cooldown grant 5% intellect for 15 seconds. Essence spells extends duration by 1 second. In theory, could be good, yes, but that really just kind of leaves to Breath, Landslide. That's kind of it. A rescue, I guess, but nothing really else, because it can't be a defensive ability. So I mean, you got cooldown reduction anyway, and for like your empowered abilities, so you already lose out on that naturally with how the tree is. So I don't know why you'd want to pick that. But then we're going to go into Temporal Burst. Tip the Scales overloads you with temporal energy, increasing your haste, movement speed, and cooldown recovery rate by 30%, decreasing over 30 seconds. Huge. We love having more haste, more movement speed, more cooldown reduction. Overall, fantastic talent. Threads of Fate is next. Casting an Empower spell during Temporal Burst causes a nearby ally to get a Thread of Fate for 10 seconds. Granting them a chance to echo their damage or healing spells, dealing 15% of the amount again. So it's kind of like the Fate Mirror, except it's a little bit stronger, it looks like. So it's kind of nice to just have that, and then have that during your burst as well. Next, we got Instability Matrix. Each time you cast an empowered spell, Unstable Time Magic reduces its cooldown by up to 6 seconds. More cooldown reduction, I'm on board with that, always. Master of Destiny, casting essence spells extend all your active Threads of Fate by 1 second. That could be good, especially if Threads of Fate is kind of hitting, but I don't know, just a cooldown, a 6-second cooldown reduction on our empowers, dude, that's just huge. Especially because, again, with the last one that we get into this tree. But now we got Reverberation. Holy shit. Next one we got is Reverberations. Upheaval deals 50% additional damage over 8 seconds. Because why not, dude? Why not? We'll get Upheaval that does a lot of damage and then just puts a dot on them for 50% of the damage down. We will take that. Primacy or Primacy, however you want to pronounce it. I don't give a shit. This talent, for each damage over time effect from Upheaval, gain 3% haste up to 9%. You can get up to free 9% haste, especially if you're just going against like Pet Cleaves, dude. That's just always going to be given 9% haste for that effect, which is just awesome to have. Golden Opportunity, which is why, again, I play Prescience, because this would just be kind of crazy not to play Prescience into Chronowarden. You're just giving up 2 potential, opportunities for a hero spell to just not be used. I don't know about that. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to roll with it. I don't care what people say. I like it. I like the extra crit. I like just what it's about. I do agree with people that say it should just be a baseline talent. I agree. It should. No doubt in my mind it should. But that's neither here nor there now, is it, folks? So Prescience has a 20% chance to cause your next Prescience to last 100% longer, which is... Hello? which is just like the tier set we had in the last season of Dragonflight. So that's not terrible. It's definitely a weird one to have all the way down in the tree like this, but we take it. It's whatever. That leads into After Image and powered spells send up to 3 Chrono Flames to your target. That's just free damage, dude. Your burst is insane now. If you Breath of Eons, or if you don't even want Breath of Eons, and you just go Deep Breath, you do your Deep Breath, Breath of Eons, whatever you want, and then you go ahead and Upheaval, Tip Fire Breath, and then use your burnouts. Dude, that is so much burst damage right there. It's actually insane. I absolutely love this. I love Chrono Flame. I love everything about Chronowarden. It is so fun, and I'm all for it. All right, you son of guns. This is what our burst rotation is going to be, right? Okay, we're just going to get into PvP combat so we get the values that we're looking for here. So if we're doing our burst rotation, make sure if you're playing Prescience, to get your Prescience up on yourself and your target that you want. It's pretty straightforward. Go ahead and get your Ebb and Might up. I don't care if people do it before or after. I do it before, so I don't gotta worry about casting it after I do my Breath of Eons right there. 1 tick of Upheaval, Tip Fire Breath, and go ahead and spam out your Chrono Flames. That's what we like to see. And if you have Essence Burst, then please use your Upheavals, and just use your Upheavals in general, because we have imminent destruction, so you are going to be doing a lot of damage. Obviously, this is just in a group of targets right here. If I were to do it on a single target, the Upheavals would be hitting a lot more. But as you can see here, we're doing a pretty consistent 540k DPS. I was not looking at it at the bottom right there. But our Tip Fire Breath did 1 million. Our Chrono Flames hitting about 229, Living Flames 400 plus, and I've hit eruptions like 800k, 700k. I'm pretty sure I've hit one over 1 million at one point as well. So that's why I think Chronowarden is just going to be good in general, and not really just dumping all of our stuff into Scalecommander's eruptions and all that. But that's the burst rotation right there. Upheaval, Tip Fire Breath, use your burnouts, spam your eruptions during imminent destruction, because it reduces the essence and increases its damage for 10%. So go ahead and do that. If you get burnouts, throw them out. Good and dandy. Make sure you keep the uptime on the Prescience as well. Now, in between bursts, it's pretty straightforward as well. If you don't got any burst, you got your Ebb and Might up. You can go ahead and either do a full fire breath, or you can just do one tick. It doesn't matter. You can do one tick of the upheaval, and then you got essence bursts. Use those up because you're gonna have faster cast time anyway with your eruptions. And if you get kicked on your eruption and you're not in any danger, it's fine. You got your chrono flame. You can still spam out. You're doing about 240 on that, and then followed by 245 if you're getting those two. So I mean, it's going to stack, and it's going to just keep doing that damage as well. So it's a good damage, especially when we have the pupil of Alexstrasza. It's just going to be good damage overall. And of course, getting those eruptions out with the essence burst gives us that 5% stacking 2 times up to 10% momentum shift. Overall, very nice, very easy. If you're getting chased, try and use your warps to get away from people. Using your eruptions when you can. Try not just getting kicked on it just because you can. But if you do get kicked, then you got your chrono flames. If you get kicked on chrono flames, then you got your eruptions. So you get a little bit more leeway, a little bit more just kind of like, okay, you know, if I'm kicked on this, I'm not just standing around spamming Azure strikes. Or I get kicked on this, at least I can, you know, still go ahead and do something. That's the burst rotation. That's the normal rotation. I feel like I don't need to go any more depth than that. If you do have any questions about it, please comment down below. Let me know what you guys think so far of the guide, what you want to see more of. Like the video while you're done that too. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And guys, please follow my Twitch channel. We're almost at 900 followers. That is insane to even think about. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. So that's covering Chronowarden, guys. Let's go ahead and go to Scalecommander. I know a lot of people like seeing Scalecommander, so let's go ahead, do that. All right, moving on to Scalecommander. This is what we got going on for the talents. Everything will be linked down in the description below. With Scalecommander, I've been playing the upheaval, the seismic slam, so everything is pretty much the same as our counterpart of Chronowarden, except I don't play prescience into it because there's no really benefit, because we want to just be dumping stuff into our eruptions and damage output. And, you know, I just dumped into reactive hide right here because I didn't really know much else to put into. I guess you could put in the power nexus because we are more eruption based. I did put the point right here because I don't have anything else. And I think arcane reach is fucking worthless. So that's just, again, my opinions. If you wanted to, you could build down into the prescience portion of the tree to get molten embers if you want to truly stack your maximum damage output with an extra 20% from targets that are affected by fire breath. But you do have to kind of commit a lot of points into that, so that is clearly up to you and totally what you want to do, you know. And these are just the builds that I use. If you want to, again, improve onto any of them, change anything, please feel free to do though. These are just builds for people who don't know where to start. That's the whole point of a build. Cool. So with Scalecommander, we do get mass eruption. This does do a lot for what comes to the damage output for eruption in general, because it was already pretty hard-hitting talent or a spell when it was in Dragonflight, but now we're adding more damage onto it, especially if we hit less targets and not just hitting, you know, multiple targets. If we hit less targets, easily normal hits are hitting over 1 million, no problem whatsoever. So mass eruption is the baseline first. So Mass Eruption is the first one that we got going on here, and then we got Might of the Dragonflight. And if you saw my Dev Evoker guide, then everything is pretty much the same when it comes to Scalecommander. Nothing's really changed. 20% increased damage to black spells, Melt Armor, On a Breath of Eons, or Deep Breath, depending which one you want to go with. 20% increased damage from bombardments and essence abilities, 20% more damage on eruption right there. And this is the one where I really only changed something in between dev and then augmentation, is the menacing presence over the hardened scales, because you're always knocking people up a lot more with augmentation with the upheaval ability, and then obviously you got your wing buffet and then your tail swipe as well. And if you wanted to, you could probably take a thing out of Attune to the Dream and go reduce cooldown on this, but that is totally up to you. But this just gives you knocking up enemies or backwards, reduces their damage done to you by 15% for 8 seconds. So that's really nice. If it's a more of like stun heavy team, like setup based, go into the Obsidian scales, because that will give you the 40%. And if you pre-do your wall and then your blaze, if it's really like you see it happening with your healing and lockdown, and you know it's gonna happen, you pre-do that stuff, you should live, no problem. But you know, be aware if your healer says to press something other than just the wall, like you gotta press trinket, go ahead and do that. Don't be greedy. If you'll be very sad when you die because you popped everything except trinket and you're punching air, dude. Mass Eruption marks your primary target with destruction for the next 6 seconds. Again, more damage overall, split amongst people, does volcanic damage, so overall good. Wing Leader reduces the cooldown of your Breath of Eons. Diverted Power is nice. Bombardments have a chance to generate Essence Burst, which is just nice because then you have the reduced cast time on Eruption. More eruptions, more damage, cool beans. Onslaught, Enduring Comment gives you just a free burnout, so that's fine because this can stack up to 3 times still. They never took that out because it used to be 3 and then they changed it to 2, but you can still get a 3rd one stacked up even if you did your Ebon Might. Unrelenting Siege increases damage to Azure Strike, Living Flame, and Eruption up to 15%, so more damage to Eruption. Why not? Just Giga Stack Eruption, guys. I'm still going to go with Slipstream as well, and then Maneuverability. Breath of Eons can now be steered, so that's the fun stuff where you can just snake around and just stun people. That's all that right there. Let's go ahead and go into the Burst Rotation. So if you're, again, Scale Commander, I recommend trying to get that Unrelenting Siege up and not just kind of ripping and tearing, you know? If you want, you can go ahead and just spam some Azures. You can spam some of these Living Flames or some of the eruptions going on. So about your Burst Rotation, once again, I may be the wiener who does this, but I'm going to Ebon Might first, and then I'm going to go ahead and steer my Breath of Eons into the target. Upheaval, Tip, Fire Breath, and going to use my burnouts, and now I'm going to spam my eruptions. As you can see, the damage output right here is really good. We're doing over 2 million damage output on these target dummies. They don't have verse, so you got to remember that it's like a no verse target or very low verse target, but eruptions do just hit really hard. So I'm going to show the single target damage of the eruption, the mass eruption. So we're going to go ahead and, you know, just keep hitting this guy, and now we're going to throw out eruptions. 400k, 1 million crit. The bombardments are nice. If you wanted to, you could play tomorrow, today. I still like the interwoven threads just because it reduces everything. So we're gonna go ahead, Ebon Might, Upheaval. And if you wanted to, you could just do a full Fire Breath right here. Do your Living Flame. Not really getting any essence procs right there. There we go. We're gonna spam our eruptions now. 713k, 749k, 9 crits with the mass eruption. So the eruptions do a lot of damage. As you can see, we got over 1 million with it. I've hit 1.2 million, 1.4 mil. I just don't like the one note aspect of it. It feels good on dev because it's always built like, hey, blue beam, cool beans. And then you channel it, you know? You channel it and you can go be a wiener behind cover of a pillar and still hit people. And it just feels natural with dev. Scale Commander on Aug doesn't feel that good in my opinion. Maybe my opinion will change on that the more I play in the season. But it just feels entirely one note, and getting kicked on eruption when you have your mass eruptions just feels bad, especially if it's good players and they're going to catch on and probably keep track of your mass eruption stacks and stop you from casting that. The only way around that is through obsidian metal, and of course if they see that, they're either going to line you or they're going to try and CC you, and if you have shrouds, they're probably going to try and rip those off as fast as they can so they can stop you from using mass eruptions. It just feels kind of hard to go about that, you know. Normal rotation outside of burst, it's pretty much what I was just showing you right there. You know, you can go ahead, just use your Fire Breath, use your burnout procs, and honestly I want to say, like, you really want to try and get a essence burst so you can just spam your eruptions faster without the risk of getting kicked. Obviously we do want to play with more haste, but once you get those eruptions out, the mass eruptions, the bombardments do hit. I will say that they do be hitting. So that's kind of normal rotation. Don't get kicked on your eruptions. Try and bait out kicks with Sleepwalk, honestly. It's pretty straightforward. Build up, save your Ebon. So once you get, you know, your power abilities off, save that up, try and get some essence burst. Once you get your essence burst, go ahead and use your eruptions because it's a 1 second cast time opposed to 1.8, 1.7. And if you're lucky with the essence burst, then you'll have that increase of damage as well. So try and not get kicked on your eruptions is all. That's just how it is. And the only thing left to cover is the PvP talents. This can be interchangeable. I think you auto lock in Obsidian Metal, Born in Flame, and then the third one can be whatever you want. If you're fighting double caster and they don't have a mage or a shaman or something, then I think Nullifying Shroud's fine. If you want You can go with Dream Projection if it's like a Cupid comp, so you can either get rid of a trap if they're not playing hard trap, or you can get rid of Hodge or Blind, whatever it may be. That can be helpful as well. If it's double melee, or even like a melee that just sticks to you really good, just go with Unburdened Flight. If it's a Druid, go ahead with Scouring Flame. Unless they got like a melee going on, then I would say... Quiet. I would say this is pretty much like my baseline. It's just I like having to just be immune to the movement reduction effects. It's just nice. You can make some dirty plays with Time Stop. I'll eventually make like a YouTube short or something on how to properly use Time Stop in like best case scenarios where you can use it and all that kind of stuff. I'll look into that. Dreamcatcher is good still. I think it'll be even better for us once we get like more haste under our belt, because right now it's a 1.4 and they'll probably bring it up to a 1.6, and I just don't like having a long time just to throw down a sleep. I just want to get it out there. And that's where kind of Chronowarden is a little bit better too, because you know, if you're getting all the haste buffs and everything and the Plot of the Future, I mean, you can easily drop a sleep, no problem. Yeah, because on Chronowarden you can do this, get your Plot of the Future. If you wanted to, you can do all that, and then your cast time will be like less than a fucking second. Yeah, because you're at 103% haste. So you just have so much haste to play with. It's a little overkill. That's why I think going into a little bit more crit too is going to be nice in general. So that's everything. That covers everything. If you guys have any questions, any comments, any concerns, if I fucked up somewhere, let me know. If you guys want to see more of me, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, like the video as well. That helps out so much. Comment down below what you guys want and what you want to see, what you want me to do. I don't give a fuck. Just let me know, because also it helps just the video in general as well. And again, once more time around, follow my stream. By the time this video is out, I'm probably going to be streaming, honestly. Maybe. We'll see. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But as I'm like recording today, I'm going to edit now and hopefully get this out like ASAP and then stream. And if you missed my stream, if you follow, you'll know when I go live next. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. I will catch you all next video or live stream. Take care, everybody. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If y'all enjoyed it, don't forget to like it, share it around, and subscribe to the channel. If y'all want to see more by me, check out the playlist and the most recent uploads. Once again, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I catch you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.